The afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of Riverside High School as families gathered in the auditorium for graduation day. Emma Henderson sat in the third row among her classmates adjusting her cap for the 100th time. Her hands trembled slightly, not from nerves about walking across the stage but from something else entirely. She glanced back into the crowd searching for one face among the hundreds. There he was. Marcus Williams sat near the middle, his salt and pepper beard neatly trimmed, wearing the navy suit she had helped him pick out last weekend. When their eyes met, he gave her that gentle smile, the one that had steadied her through countless difficult moments over the past 12 years. Emma's mother Linda sat beside Marcus, her hand resting comfortably in his. They looked proud. They looked like what they were. Her parents. But not everyone saw it that way. "Is that your dad?" whispered Brittany Chen from the seat beside her. The question came with a slight edge, one Emma had learned to recognize over the years. "Yes," Emma replied, simply keeping her voice steady. Brittany's eyebrows rose just a fraction. "Oh, I just thought maybe he was like a family friend or something." Emma turned to face forward. She had heard variations of this conversation more times than she cared to count. At parent-teacher conferences, at school plays, at the grocery store. Always the same surprised looks, the same awkward questions, the same assumptions. The ceremony began with the usual speeches about bright futures and limitless potential. Emma tried to focus on the words, but her mind kept drifting back through the years. She was 7 when her biological father left. She remembered her mother crying in the kitchen late at night, trying to muffle the sound so Emma wouldn't hear. She remembered the confusion of suddenly having only one parent, the empty chair at the dinner table, the questions from other kids at school. Then Marcus came into their lives. He was a colleague of her mother's at the hospital where Linda worked as a nurse and Marcus as a physical therapist. Emma remembered meeting him for the first time at a hospital picnic. He had kind eyes and he listened when she talked, really listened, not the way some adults did while thinking about other things. Their relationship grew slowly. Marcus never tried to force himself into Emma's life. He simply showed up. At her soccer games. At her school concerts. For pizza dinners that turned into a weekly tradition. He was patient in a way that felt like warmth spreading through a cold room. When Emma was 10, her mother and Marcus got married in a small ceremony at the Botanical Gardens. Marcus knelt down before the vows and asked Emma if it would be all right if he tried his best to be a good father to her. She had nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat, and hugged him tight. But the whispers started then too. In the grocery store checkout line, when they stood together as a family. At school events when other parents saw them. The stares lasted a little too long. The questions came wrapped in false politeness. "So Marcus is your stepfather? Is your real father in the picture? That must be such an adjustment." Marcus handled it all with a grace that amazed Emma. He never showed anger, never made her feel like his love came with conditions. When she came home crying at 13 because kids at school were asking invasive questions about their family, he held her and said something she never forgot. "People will always have opinions, Emma. What matters is what we know to be true in our hearts. I chose to love you and your mother. That choice is the realest thing in my life." The principal's voice broke through her memories, announcing that they would now hear from this year's graduation speaker. Emma's attention snapped back to the present. "We are honored today to welcome someone who has dedicated his life to service and healing. Many of you may not know that we have a genuine hero among us today. Please welcome to the stage Marcus Williams, recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor for his service as a combat medic in the United States Army." The auditorium fell silent for a heartbeat, then erupted into applause. Emma's mouth fell open. She spun around to look at her mother, who was already standing clapping with tears streaming down her face. Marcus rose from his seat looking somewhat uncomfortable with the attention and made his way to the stage. Emma felt her own tears beginning to fall. In 12 years Marcus had never once mentioned a medal. She knew he had served, she knew he had been a medic, but he never talked about his time in the military. He always said he preferred to focus on the present, on helping people heal now. Brittany leaned over, her eyes wide. "That's your dad." Emma nodded, unable to speak. Marcus reached the podium and stood there for a moment looking out at the crowd. When he spoke, his voice was gentle as always. "Thank you for that introduction, though I have to say I'm more comfortable helping folks recover from injuries than I am standing up here talking to so many people at once." Scattered laughter rippled through the audience. "I was asked to speak today about courage and the future. When I served overseas I saw courage every single day. But I'll tell you something. The courage I saw in those difficult times is the same courage I see in everyday life. It's the courage of showing up. Of choosing love even when it's complicated. Of building bridges instead of walls. He paused, glancing down at the podium, then looking up to find Emma in the crowd. 12 years ago I met a young girl who had every reason to be guarded to keep her heart protected. She had been hurt by someone leaving. But she chose to let me in. She chose to give me a chance to earn the greatest honor of my life, being her father. Emma's tears were flowing freely now. Around her she could hear sniffling from other graduates and families. The medal they mentioned, that was for doing my job under difficult circumstances. But being Emma's father, that has been my life's greatest achievement. She has taught me more about courage and grace and resilience than any experience in my past. Marcus's voice grew thicker with emotion. To all you graduates out there, you're about to go out into a world that will sometimes be quick to judge. People will make assumptions about who you are based on how you look, where you come from, who your family is. But I want you to remember this. Family is not just about biology. Love is not limited by what we expect it to look like. The connections that matter most are built through choice, through daily acts of kindness, through showing up even when it's hard. He gripped the edges of the podium. Your generation has the chance to build a world where love in all its forms is celebrated. Where families are defined by commitment, not just by tradition. Where people are seen for who they truly are, not for the assumptions others place on them. The auditorium was completely silent except for the sound of Marcus's voice. So my challenge to you today is this. Choose love. Choose it actively, deliberately, courageously. Love your neighbor who doesn't look like you. Love the stranger who needs help. Love your family, whoever they may be, in all the beautiful unexpected forms that family can take. He stepped back from the podium, then added one more thing. And to my daughter Emma, I love you. I am so incredibly proud of you. Not just for graduating today, but for the person you've become. Thank you for making me a father. Thank you for choosing this family. The applause was thunderous. Emma stood with her classmates, tears streaming down her face as Marcus made his way back to his seat. She watched as people she had known for years, people who had made assumptions about her family, reached out to shake his hand, to thank him. She saw understanding dawning on faces that had held judgment. After the ceremony, as Emma stood in line waiting to take photos, she felt a tap on her shoulder. It was Brittany. I owe you an apology, Brittany said quietly. Earlier when I asked about your dad, I was making assumptions. That was wrong of me. Emma managed a small smile. Thank you for saying that. He's amazing. You're really lucky. I know, Emma said. I really am. When she finally reached Marcus and her mother, she fell into their arms, holding them both tight. You never told me about the medal, she said against his shoulder. It's just a medal, Emma. Being here with you today, this is what matters. Linda laughed through her tears. I've been trying to get him to tell that story for years. As they stood there in the streaming sunlight with the sounds of celebration all around them, Emma thought about all the moments that had brought them here. The quiet dinners, the homework help at the kitchen table, the drives to soccer practice, the talks about friendship and heartbreak and dreams for the future. Those were the moments that made a father. Not genetics, not expectations, just love. Steady, patient, unwavering love. She pulled back to look at Marcus. Thank you, Dad, for everything. His eyes glistened. Thank you, Emma, for letting me love you. Around them families celebrated, but in that moment their little family of three stood together, knowing they had already received the greatest gift. They had chosen each other, and that choice had made all the difference. The sun continued to shine through those tall windows, casting long golden shadows across the auditorium floor as one more family among many headed home together, bound not by what others expected but by what they knew to be true in their hearts. Love makes a family, and that is the truest thing of all.